Well, thank you, everyone. This is another chapter of real estate talk, and today we're going to have a great guy that I haven't met yet personally, but is I've been connected with him through Facebook for a long time, and I've been obviously following his growth. Obviously, he's been in real estate for a long time. I believe he's about 30 years now, if I'm not mistaken. He's a real estate broker, he's a real estate investor locally here in Chicago, and he was actually he's had an award recently for one of the top brokers by car. So, but I'm gonna let him. Tell you a little bit more about that. So I'm going to bring him in, and his name is Frank Montro. Hello, Frank. How are
Hi,
you?
Christian. How are you? Good. How are you?
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, and to taking the time to do this with me. I know that, like I said, we're not, we don't know each other personally, but we've been connected through Facebook for a long time, and I think we're both been following each other's through there. So, and lately, the format on these real estate talks that I started doing very recently. I mean, I just started. This is my second week, I think, that I've been doing this. And I just wanted to bring a lot of people locally. I thought a lot of realtors and a lot of investors are going through some tough situations right now. And I personally went through the crash of 2008. I went through the situation, also the crash or the crisis in 2001 too. And I was in the real estate at that time. 2001 didn't affect me as much because I was very young. I was early in the real estate market at that time. But in 2008, it really, really hit me hard because I was not ready. I was not, I was doing very well, and I was not paying attention to what was going on in the market. And even though I was in the middle of it, I mean, I was not paying attention. So this time around, obviously, I've seen, the signs. I was paying more attention of what's going on in the real estate, and the idea was like, okay, I'm sure there is a lot of investors, new realtors, new brokers out there that are in this probably the same situation that I was back then. Where you feel like you don't know which way you want to go. You know what I mean? Should I get off of real estate? Should I stay on it? What should I do? And maybe the idea was to kind of give him some wisdom from people that are being on the real estate for a long time, and kind of give him some different perspective, right? So, but first of all, for those that don't know you, that probably not many people, everybody knows you, Frank. So, for
Mhm.
those that don't know you, if you can tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been in real estate and so forth.
Sure. I left. I was an accountant for Arthur Anderson. I left them in June of '83 and started immediately working as a real estate agent in June of '83. So I've been in business for 37 and a half years.
Wow.
Well, almost 38 years now. So I've been through five shifts of the market,
Oh,
major
wow.
shifts, and multiple micro shifts. So I've
Right.
seen a lot. I've learned a lot. I've been successful. As a matter of fact, um, extremely successful through the shifts because I've learned. Sorry about that. Because I've learned how to manage myself through in my business through the
Mm-hmm.
shifts. So there's definitely things that you have to do differently. But yeah, I've been around for 37 plus years, and I've seen it all. And
Right.
I could definitely give you guys some pointers today Do you want me to just go ahead and get started, or do you have
Yeah,
more
yeah,
questions?
absolutely. I
Okay.
mean,
All right.
absolutely. I mean, the idea is that I do have some questions, but the idea is that first, before we get started, I think I just wanted to recognize you for your car award, being a top producer, and that was one of the things that I think
Oh,
that is a great achievement. Because and you being on it, you've been a top producer for a long time, so definitely that's
mhm.
why
Yeah.
a lot of people follows you. A lot of people follows your career, and you're a great example for a lot of brokers and investors here locally.
Yeah, no,
So
thanks. Yeah, awards really don't mean anything to me because they don't really. I'm not
no,
really. I don't do. I appreciate you bringing it up, but I
hmm
just want to let people know it's that doesn't drive me. And yeah,
right,
I've been a top 1% producer in the city of Chicago, even through the downtimes, through
right,
for a very very long
right,
time.
right,
So,
right, right,
but just jumping right into it, then there I've seen a bunch of shifts. You're going to hear all kinds of prophets, so to speak.
hmm
Doom and gloomers to people telling you everything's going to be fine once you go back. The truth
right,
is always somewhere in the middle.
right,
But the thing that I really discourage people from is listening to doom and gloomers because they're always wrong. And my pastor told me there's only one thing that is the end of the world, and that is the end of the world. And
right,
this is
right.
not the end of the world.
No,
So
it's not right.
I've been through a lot of tough times, and I've come out smelling like roses. And I'll tell you, there's some things. One thing that I've always done is I've always worked on my mindset, and
hmm
that is extremely important, especially during this time. This is a time for you to make changes, and if you don't make changes now during this time, when you have more time on your hands, you'll never make changes. So
Right,
this is a time where you need to sit down and figure out what you need to change and what you need to do better, and make those changes. Most
absolutely.
importantly, I'm going to tell you how I think and why I'm so successful during these times. I've learned a long time ago not to build my business around the economy. The economy does not dictate my business. I dictate my business. I'm in
Right,
charge. So I just use the economy or whatever comes through the door as where the opportunity is. So I'm always looking. That's rule number one: is always look for opportunity, and it changes. There doesn't have to be a major shift in the economy for opportunities to pop up because they're
right,
always popping up. There's opportunity in up times, and there's opportunities in downtimes. Some people never do anything. They just don't apply themselves, and then other people do really well when business is good, and the business is falling off the trees, and then once that dries up and the market tightens up, they fall to pieces
hmm
because they're relying on the economy. I'm going
right,
to tell you guys how to bulletproof yourself through these times. And so
right,
there's two simple ideas. Number one is as I focus daily on opportunities. I'm always looking to see where the market's shifting, whether it's a macro or micro shift, and I'm always looking for new developments, new upstarts in the market, new openings in the market, and what doors are closing, what doors are open. You always need to be looking at that. It doesn't matter. Don't I don't focus on whether it's a good economy or bad economy. It has nothing to do with how I think. I think I'm strictly looking for opportunities. Everybody tells me, "Oh, you're so calm. You're so calm." I'm like, that's just the way I think. I'm not
right,
reacting I'm not getting upset or having sleepless nights. I'm focused on my daily activity, staying in the moment, looking for opportunities. And then once I identify the opportunity, then it's extremely important that I adapt and create the correct systems and make the changes. And of course, change is always difficult. And that's where a lot of
absolutely.
people fail because they don't want to change. I've had investors that I've worked for were unwilling to change, and they went down in flames. They
Right,
lost everything, including their family. So make no mistake, if you want to bulletproof yourself, these are the top two vital issues: are train your mind to look for opportunities daily, because there's always stuff that's developing, and then adapt to them. So let's visit that right now. So
Okay.
let's talk about some opportunities, Christian. So what's
Okay.
going on in this economy that's different? Everybody's home. I mean,
Yes.
almost everybody. And
Almost
so
everyone.
what's happening, right? Grandparents, senior citizens, people that don't even know how to spell the word Facebook are on Facebook. What's
Yes.
going on with this world, right?
Yes.
So, since people are home, you can reach out to them. They're much easier to get a hold of. So now, as real estate agents or even investors, if you need to reach out to to meet people, now more than ever, if you don't develop that habit, so you need to learn to time block. But another thing too is just don't put it in your schedule. You need to learn to discipline yourself to be talking to people on a regular basis. So time
Absolutely.
block, yeah, time back 2, 3, 4 hours a day to get on the phone and start talking to people and start creating business. I'm on the
Mhm.
phone all day long. I'm always, but on the phone right now, right? So
Right.
it's always something that it seems to be doing. People ask me, "Well, has your business affected?" I'm like, "Well, I'm on the phone." So, now back in the '80s, when I saw shifts in the market, it was a lot more difficult because, when we couldn't get out, when business slowed down, it was a little bit different because we
Right.
didn't, I couldn't, or I couldn't. The big difference was like now I could go somewheres and be en route and still be creating business. There, I had to
Right.
be stationary near a rotary phone, or we used to have those big brick phones, and those things were expensive as heck to make a phone
Right.
call.
Right.
So
Right.
you better be calling with purpose with your
Right.
brick phones.
Right.
Yeah, so get active. So you need to get in a routine with calling people, routine with being on Facebook and Instagram on a daily basis. And here's a pro tip. Right now, um, when I'm just starting my campaigns on this, but I've learned this from several agents, high producing agents. They're having wild success with Instagram ads. So the
Right.
pro tip of the
Yeah.
day, the best tip of the day I can tell agents is get on Instagram and start advertising. Facebook is going to be a temporary thing because a lot of agents have gone off the playing field and they're sitting on the bench waiting for it to recover. So there's still like a buyer audience out there that you're able to capture now because
Right.
there's less competition out there.
Yes.
Once we get the all clear, agents will come back. There'll be more competition, less chances for picking up and converting buyers. But right now,
Right.
Instagram is the play. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
and
also, I
you
mean, I tend to think about, or try to look at from a different point of view, which is, look, even though you may have, I don't know what's the percentage of unemployment right now, but let's say it's 20%. I don't know. I'm just throwing a
Mhm.
number out there, right? But even though you can see those numbers on TV, there's still another 80%. If we have a 20% unemployment per
Exactly.
se, there's still another 80% that actually are working, that there's where you can grow your business, right?
Uh,
You can still
exactly,
target those people.
Christian. Here's the thing: everything is perception.
Right.
So we've had a historical low unemployment. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the business since '83. I've seen high unemployment. I'm
Right.
still having record years with high unemployment. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter if the unemployment
Right.
is 7% or 10% right now, and it's going to get up to say the longer we go, the higher it's going to get. So let's say
Right.
it gets up to 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, 80% of the population, that's still millions and millions of people
Mm-hmm.
that are looking, that need a place to stay. That
Right.
this is real estate is not a luxury. You need a place to hang your
Mm-hmm.
head.
Absolutely.
You need shelter. So
Absolutely.
this will not go away anytime soon. Real estate will not ever go away.
Right. Right.
Even with high unemployment, there is still massive opportunity. So we will get to a high number, and then that will adjust. as we, some states are doing this thing in phases and stuff. So the unemployment rate's going to go up, and then
Yeah.
it will come back down. It may never come back to the 3%. It doesn't matter, because even if we have a 10% unemployment rate, if
Right.
that's where it settles, it doesn't matter. There's
No, no,
always,
no.
and see, people
Right.
have this perception. Oh my gosh, 10%
Right.
unemployment, 15%
Right.
unemployment. Hey,
Nobody's
we've
working.
been there, and
Yeah.
we've been wildly successful. So
Right.
get that out of your head. Start thinking like a top producer. Top
Hmm.
producers are not looking at negative numbers. They're looking at the positive, and they're looking for opportunities. Like you said, Christian, if it's 20% unemployment, that means there's 80%. That's a
Right.
majority in my book.
Yeah.
80 is a lot higher than 20%.
Yeah.
There's
It's
going to
just
be a
that.
lot of people looking. It might mean you may have to work a little harder, and
Absolutely.
that's where I want to get to this point. So
Yeah.
what does this type of shift do? It gets rid of the lazy people. So the
Hmm.
lazy people get fired from jobs. The lazy people on sales jobs get taken out, because now all the freeloading that they've got, that's gone, and now you got to work for hard for your money. And
Hmm.
guess what? Those people are not willing to make the change, so they will be out of luck, and they'll be collecting unemployment, and they're going to be wondering where their next meal is. So
Right.
this is the time where you you think to yourself, hey, look, I don't want to become that person, and I don't want to become that unemployment person. I need to up my game. So
Absolutely.
what's great is, I always love these difficult times, because all it does is it elevates my game. Now, an average person, it does just the opposite. They're going to sit on the bench, and they're going to check into fear. So that's the other thing that I want to mention to people today. You do not operate in fear. You do not have the luxury to operate in fear. Did you get that? You do
Yeah. Yeah.
not have the
Absolutely.
luxury to operate in fear. You don't
Yeah.
have that. You don't have enough, if you don't have enough money in your bank, if you don't have enough business going, you cannot entertain fear. You have to operate in faith, and operate with the understanding that there's plenty of opportunity out there. There's plenty of business out there, because there is. And don't listen to the naysayers and the doom and gloomers. Those are people that have no clue what they're talking about. They've read a couple articles, and they think they're experts, or
Right.
they write an article thinking that that they have more knowledge than everybody else, and they don't. I have the experience. I've been there. I've done it over 5 times. So I know what's going to happen. I can't predict exact
No, of
details. No
course.
one can. No one can
Yeah.
say when the economy is going to come
Yeah.
back, when our governor is going to let us go full speed back. Nobody can determine all that. But what we can determine is that, the economy will recover, because it always has, and that
Yes.
we're going to be all right. We're going to be good. So,
Yeah, I
adopt
mean,
a
just
positive attitude.
take the time to, right, to adapt to the situation,
Yeah.
learn something new, right? Try
Right.
to develop, put some time into your personal development, right? This is a great
Exactly.
time to
Well
kind of
stated.
get in time with yourself, right? It's
It's
a
now
time
or
to kind of,
never.
right,
It's
right,
now
right,
or never. If you're not going to work on yourself now, when this downtime, you'll never work on it. So know
right.
this: if you made a decision now that you're not going to do it, know that that's what you got for the rest of your life. Because if you
Absolutely,
can't
absolutely.
use this time to wake up, smell the coffee, make the changes, I am pleading to you, please do that now.
Yeah.
Stop using excuses. Make your changes now. Now,
Right.
I want to talk now about some myths out there.
Okay.
So people are saying, well, retail lending is dead.
Hmm.
Retail lending, all now to some degree that's true, but not totally. So
Right.
some lenders have cranked up their requirements. Some lenders are requiring a minimum score of 660,
Right.
some all the way up to 700.
Right.
Some are requiring 20% down. Some are reducing their back end ratios, their DTI.
Hmm.
But then again, ladies and gentlemen, some aren't. And that's what these people that are writing these stories don't know. I know which banks are. I've been doing this. I make it a habit. I get I'm really into my craft, which is helping buyers and helping sellers get what they want, and I provide excessive value. So to do that
Hmm.
for buyers, I need to know what's shaking. I need to know what lenders have the best programs. I need to know everything there is to know about grants, about
Right.
credit repair. Who knows who are the best credit repair people out there? So
Hmm.
I have that knowledge through experience, and that's something that you just can't buy, or you can't read that in an article.
True.
So
Yeah.
that's why a third of my clients are real estate agents, believe it or not.
Mm.
A
Right.
third of my clients are like, look, you've got more experience than anybody else out there. I'm gonna list my house with you. I'm gonna list my
Mm.
rehab with you. So if and I just want to say, if anybody needs help, feel free to reach out to me.
Hmm. Absolutely.
If you're an investor, if you're a buyer, if you're a buyer, a lot of buyers are getting turned away because they're in the
Yes.
middle. Christian, it's crazy. They're in the middle of buying a home, and all of a sudden, they're told that they're denied. There are people
Yeah.
that are the closing is set, and they're told we can no longer give you a loan because we changed
Yes.
our um,
Yes.
our FICO and DTI scores. Well,
Hmm.
I'm rescuing people left and right. If you have that problem, call me on my cell at 708-307-0777, and I'll help you finish that deal, or help you find another deal. Or if you're
Absolutely.
concerned or you're worried you can't qualify, call me and I'll hook you up with the best loan officers out there that will help you get the loan. So you got to
Absolutely.
be careful out there, Christian, because there are a
Yes.
lot of companies, and the companies. The problem is this: is a lot of these mortgage brokers, they're selling off their loans. They're just originators. So
Hmm.
they're selling them off to servicers. And so the servicers at any time could tell them, you know what? We're no longer honoring 620 FICO
Yeah.
scores.
Yes.
We're at 660 now. And so now that buyer of yours that's at a 640 can't get the loan.
Can't get the
So,
loan. Yeah.
I've rescued probably 12, 13 deals right now. Maybe more. Boy, it's a blur. There's just so many deals. That's just my own deals
Hmm.
that my own listings that have had loan officers that we don't really recommend, but deals that have fallen apart, and we just switch them to companies that we know that can get the job done and
Right.
provide excessive value. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about
Yeah.
providing consistent excessive value. So, guys, deals are getting done. Don't believe the negative hype. And yes, there are mortgage companies that are changing their rules. And
Yeah.
yes, there are people that have fallen apart, but there are companies out there that are not changing their rules. One of the main reasons is the companies that are selling their loans to Fannie, Freddie, or Ginnie, the government's not changing the rules through this time. So they're not changing.
No.
They could on their own say, hey, let's be a little more conservative here, but they're not doing that.
Right.
So
No, mostly are
the
the
companies
loans that
I
are
have,
coming from other sources, right? That are changing their guidelines, right?
yeah, right,
Mhm.
exactly. So, and here's another thing too. Guess what, boys and girls, things are actually starting to loosen up a little bit. The non-QM loans, the one day out of bankruptcy, one day out of foreclosure, one day out of short sale,
Mhm.
they're starting to come back. Now you got to put more money down. So right now this stuff is starting to slowly get off the bench, but it's a little harder to get you have to put a little more money down. That'll go back to the regular way that they do it. But right now that was completely on the shelf on pause. Now
Mhm.
it's
Yes.
there's companies that are doing non-QM loans is what
Mhm.
they call and bank statement loans too for self-employed
Right.
that just want to show. But those are coming back now. You have to put a bigger down payment down than you normally did in the past. That will loosen up eventually too, as the market is, shows more promise
Recuperate.
of everybody coming back to work.
Right.
But right now, that's back in the game. I
Mhm.
haven't seen I-10 loans come back in. I'm sure they're not far from coming back in as well too.
Yeah.
A
Unfortunately,
lot
those
of
are the first one to be cut off. So.
yeah, the biggest hit in the market has been with hard money lending. So
Yes.
the majority of hard money lenders are um, are on pause.
Right.
So they're waiting to see what the market's doing. Their concern is that the values are going to plummet, and they won't. And I'll explain shortly why they won't.
Okay.
But what what I'm seeing is fortunately, I do a lot of business in that area, so I know the
Hmm.
lenders that are still lending and they haven't
Right.
changed, the hard money lenders, and they haven't changed their rates, or a few that are still lending and they've made some minor adjustments, like with loan amounts and stuff. Somebody that keeps calling me.
Mhm.
Um, the yeah, so
Yeah, I'm in touch
there.
with that area as well, Frank. Because obviously I've been
Yeah.
investing now for the last 10 years,
Mhm.
and it's not a obviously for me it's not news going back to what we were before. Actually, in 2010, when I started using those guys, those hard money lenders, those private money lenders, I was putting 40% down at that time.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
and so now, because they were only giving us 20%, 80% of the purchase and only 80% of the rehab. So
Mm.
we needed to come up with 40% at the end of the day. And today, obviously, a lot of the new investors, they never even saw that because they're being used to the 10% down payment only
Mhm.
that has been going on for the last few years. So obviously that's why they're getting shocked now that they say, "Oh, 20%, 30% down, that's a lot." But at the same time, in those times, the after the last crash, we needed to get creative in regards on how to find the money, right? And that's how real estate
Yeah.
investors actually are born, where you are really creative on how to find the money. And that's one of the things that I help a lot of investors now to
Mm.
kind of find that extra money that they need to get their deals done. So this is a perfect time for us to uh, to help them out. So anybody that
Oh,
out
good.
there also that they need that as well, we can help with that. So.
I'll have a conversation with that too, because that's good to know. Because I also, I do have some private money sources,
Hmm.
that I'm freeing up to people. But you have to call me, we have to discuss that. And also,
Absolutely.
I also recommend people turning to their friends and family and have
Hmm.
them ask them to dip
Yeah.
in their savings, their Ks, and start, like partnering up with them,
And it
so they
was
can continue
amazing
to.
back in the last crash, after the last crash, right? Everybody before the last crash of 2008, everybody was buying properties 100% finance, right? So,
Mm.
and obviously we went from there to zero to no financing, right? Or those loans completely disappear. And of course, everybody, it was amazing to me how to see at that time how everybody came out with their cash at that time and said, oh, okay, now there's no more loans, so now we can use our own cash. So this time is going to happen the same thing. Everybody's going to come out with cash from somewhere to to start investing on these properties again. So
Yeah,
I,
absolutely, absolutely. So there is money out there.
yeah, yeah,
There
absolutely.
is lending. There's not a lot, because most of the companies are on pause right now. They will come
Hmm.
back, and
Hmm.
I've
Yeah.
heard one of the major companies is going to be slowly coming back in 2 weeks from now. So they will all come back, and things will be back to normal,
Hmm.
whatever that is, moving forward.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you see? Do you think
that's
that
not the
it's
end of the world.
that this is gonna bring a lot of foreclosures again after we go back to work?
Well, yeah, yeah. So I think what's going to happen is there'll be foreclosures coming from different ways. So
Mm-hmm.
landlords that have tenants that aren't paying. So if a
Mm-hmm.
landlord has, all of their tenants aren't paying and they can't afford to make their mortgage payment, they will be going into foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People that are unemployed and lose their jobs will go into foreclosure. There's people that have done the forbearance. See, the
Right.
forbearance is extremely dangerous. So
It's
with
just
the
a delay.
forbearance,
Right.
what people don't understand, if look, Here's Frank's golden rule with forbearance: don't do it unless you have to. And here's why: is that you think that nothing's going to happen to your credit. Well, the problem is that what banks will do is they will make a note on your credit that you
Mhm.
went into forbearance. Let's say you went into Let's say you worked it out where your bank will allow you to go into forbearance and take your payments and put it at the end of the or finance it over a period of time. They will still put a note on your credit that you went into forbearance. So
Mhm.
what that means is that you're not in a position to financial position to pay if you go through any kind of shift in the market. So they're going to look at you as a high risk. So for at least 12 months, you will not be able to get a refi or a new purchase loan because they're going to, they'll put you in a different category. Or you're going to have
Right.
to go in, you will have to go into like a high risk loan. Your rate will be higher, and it's going to be very difficult. They will
Absolutely.
do what they call a manual underwriting, get you in, and you have a high risk of not getting approved for the loan. So you put I talk to people and said, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this forbearance. I'm like, don't do it
Mhm. Yeah.
because it's not as now there's people that have to do it,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got to do it, you got to do it. But if you don't have to do it, don't exercise your right just because you have a right to do it and think you're getting away with it, because you're not. You're going to hurt yourself. And yeah, so for those reasons, there will be more foreclosures, and
Right.
those will end up, they'll hit the market. It'll take a year for them, a year
Right.
from the time that these people go into foreclosure, 6 months to a year,
Hmm.
is when these properties will start showing up. So
No,
yeah,
plus
they'll
I
be.
mean, plus the courts are closed.
Yeah.
Once the courts start opening back up, they're going to be behind on a lot of work.
Hmm.
So they're going to have to catch up with a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's going to be on the back of burner. But I mean, it happens in 2008 that the property values didn't plummet the same year. It took 2 3 years that continuously went out to drop. What were you thinking? You were saying that you don't see that coming now.
No, and here's why. It's totally different. The 2008 shift was directly related to real estate,
Right.
based on the ninja loans, the no
Yeah.
income, no verification loans. They should have never been made.
Right.
And the if you look at how much the values were going up every year, it was crazy how much the values are skyrocketing every year. So they needed, first and foremost, they needed an adjustment.
Right.
Second of all, banks went from aggressive to the other extreme, to hyper conservative on appraisals. So a lot of appraisals were coming back low, and so banks were purposely trying to drive down values, especially in what they consider high risk areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here's the other thing: we're in a completely different market. This is a much more affordable market, and values are not out of control like they were when the 2008 market. So there's really no shift needs to happen. In fact, in a lot of markets, especially on the south side, the rent amount is very similar to or slightly lower than the mortgage amount.
Right.
So, that being the case, and also the fact that there's way more buyers and properties out there, it's a
Mm.
totally different climate, Christian. It's
Yes.
not a climate that's ripe for a massive reductions like 2008
Right.
was. It needed to have to
Right.
be done. We knew it was coming. We know that there are going to be a few markets that are the markets that are overpriced need to be
Mm-hmm.
adjusted, and that's just
Yeah.
normal real estate. The real
Right.
estate market goes up and down. It doesn't flatline like a lot of people think it does. The real estate market is you have a market that's where the buyers and sellers control it. Prices go up, and then they hit a ceiling where people can't afford that price, and then they come down, so that more buyers can afford that market. So they adjust to the income basis. So
Right.
and that's just normal real estate. Values go up and down. Shifting up and down. It, my micro, I don't know if microcosmically, or I don't know if that's a word, but in micro shifts up and down. And so, when a major shift comes and there's major shifts in values, that's because areas have just been overrun. Now, the South
Right.
Side really doesn't have that. I mean, there may be a few areas where there's some price points that are a little suspicious that probably will go away, but for the most part, the South Side is not going to see any kind of shifts with
No,
price points,
and
and
I
there's
think
nothing's
that
going on now, and nothing will happen in the future because
right.
of the fact that we still have more buyers and sellers, and
And
it's going to remain that way for a while.
there is some areas in the south side that are actually undervalued. So there's some really
Totally,
beautiful areas in the south.
that need to come up, and a lot of that is
Mhm.
driven because the banks were willing to help out. So the banks have purposely internally kept the values and suppressed the values in the South Side. So
Right.
that's a proven fact. But yeah, so there's not going to be any kind of explosive shifts on values. You will see, you know,
There is obviously
certain
it's
areas in
going to
the
affect it,
luxury
but
market,
hmm
the luxury market is interesting. There's not a lot of action going on in the
no.
higher end, and part of the problem is because of the taxes.
Yes.
So when the government still needs to fund the pension shortage, and they're still planning on raising the taxes.
hmm
So on the lower end price points, the 150 to 250,000, it's not that big of a payment shock. But when you get up into the $1 million plus, and your taxes go from 20,000 to 40,000, now all of a sudden it's a problem.
Right.
So
Well, and the luxury market has been sort of slow for the last few years. I mean, I was
yeah,
involved in the luxury market a few years ago, and I got out of it because obviously the properties were taking too long to sell. So,
yeah. So and
and
yeah, a lot
prices
of it
were
is
going up a
it's fear
lot.
driven. Yeah, a lot of
hmm
it's fear driven. They're not sure what the values are shifting down in those areas, and it's driven a lot by the taxes and a couple
Right.
other issues. But the taxes
hmm
are a huge problem right now. The fear or the uncertainty of where the taxes are going to end up, and that's going to be a dramatic shift. So that's why it's really hurt the that market, and a lot of people that have second homes or second or condos or townhouses downtown, they're selling them off because
Right.
it just doesn't make any sense to hold on to those because of the taxes make it too expensive.
Right. Well, Frank, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, for realtors, I mean, the realtors, brokers, and investors, obviously, the next market is going to be an opportunity to for a lot of people to do a lot of work, to either help people that are in trouble and to also make a great deal of money as well. So, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people that will need help, and I think that there is that factor in there. Now there's a lot more tools that we can help people with, right? And one of the things is being online and getting yourself out there to for people to know that what are you able to help them with, right? So
Right.
but at the same time, for all of this, it takes a little bit more work personally to be out there. So I think that it's need we all need to have a schedule, right? To maintain our schedule and to be out there and doing the money making activities all day long, right? So how is your just tell us before we go, how is your schedule every day right now? How is how do you manage yourself? Just now that we're not able to go out as much, obviously, even though we do, but not as much as before, right?
I'm always extremely busy,
Right.
and my business never slows down through
hmm
a up market or down market because I'm always ahead of the game with opportunity, and so I'm on the phone all the
hmm
time. So I really, and if I need to travel somewhere, like I do have to go to an appraisal because the seller wants me there. I
hmm
typically am not out on the field though, and so I have some of my other people there. We're learning to improvise by doing a lot of things virtually,
Absolutely.
and we're doing virtual open houses, virtual showings. We
Adapting to it. Right.
do a virtual a lifestyle video, so people can see how they can live in that. We just don't film a house anymore. We actually do a lifestyle. So we'll
Right.
walk through the living room and say, hey, look, if you have a big screen TV, it would fit nicely over here, and if you have a 90-inch couch,
Right.
there's plenty of room here, and so we're learning to play the virtual business and
Hmm.
play, and we're doing that very successfully right now. So we're minimizing our exposure to the general public, and we're learning to do everything from uh, showings to closings virtually. So
Right.
it's a lot of fun. We're still doing a
It
lot
is.
of business. We're still having a lot of fun, and it's going to change eventually. But we've learned that there's a virtual space out there that's been untapped. So the biggest takeaway from this shift in the market is learn how to do as much business possibly as
Hmm.
possible virtually.
Virtually.
I'm
Right.
always on the phone, so it really doesn't matter. And one of the big things is like what we're doing right now. So
Right.
I do a lot of Zoom meetings. I mean, I do at least
Hmm.
one Zoom meeting a day. I never did that before, and having yourself talking to somebody else and seeing their face and everything, it becomes more personable than just
Absolutely. Yeah.
text or going over the phone. So I think a
Hmm.
lot of that is. A lot of that is going to take place. Is There's going to be more virtual closings,
Hmm.
online closings. It's just we're gonna have a major shift in how we do business. There's going to be less brick and mortars. I think a lot of office space. There's going to be a lot of
Hmm.
unused office space, and a lot of people are going to be working from home because they can be just as productive. So
Right.
there's going to
That
be a lot of
a lot of people are
changes.
learning that they can be just as productive, like you said. Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of so a lot of companies realize, hey, I don't need all this office space, or
Hmm.
hey, I only need 5 people. I don't know you need 8 people. These 3 people really don't do anything for me. So
Hmm.
this is the time when people are going to have to grow up and start working harder.
Yeah.
What shifts do is they make you better. And
Absolutely.
so, and if you need any help, feel free to call me or text me at 708-307-0777. If you're a realtor, if you're a wholesaler, if you're a home buyer, a investor, I have plenty of solutions for you. Feel free to call me. Be more than happy to do business with you.
All right, Frank, thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate you taking this time to do this with me. What
Sure.
I'm going to do now, I prepare a little slide with your information. I'm going to put it out there for people to, with all your social media information and
Okay,
your
perfect.
website, so in case they want to get in touch with you. But definitely, again, thank you very much, and I hope that we can do this soon again.
Sure, absolutely. Love to.
All right,
Thanks.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Take care.
All right, everyone. Here's the information if you want to get in touch with Frank. Frank is a wealth of knowledge, so definitely get in touch with him if you need any help with any of your real estate needs. Like he said, he can help you with. Um, Selling your home, brokers, even realtors that are looking to for a word of someone that has so much experience. Is super inspiring to hear from him. Someone that has been going through many different situations in real estate, and have that assurance that there's nothing that can stop you right now. So you can still work. There's still people out there buying properties. There's still banks lending, and there's still people selling out there. So please let's get out there and keep rocking the real estate market. So again, here's the Frank information. Feel free to get in touch with him. And I'm gonna give you a word from our sponsors now. So our sponsors is National Corporate Credit. National Corporate Credit actually is helping. Also, it's been they didn't stop funding. They also fund real estate investors. They're helping a lot of real estate investors right now get the extra money that they need to fund their deals. So if you've seen that your bank actually went down uh, in the LTVs, or they're asking you for more down payment to close your deal, feel free to call these guys. They can definitely raise the funds that you need, the extra money that you need for to close your deals, or even to buy, cheap properties. You can definitely use those funds for that. There is absolutely no restriction on how you use those funds. So definitely go to getunsecuredcredit.com or give him a call at 847-220-7247. And again, if you like to get in touch with me, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm gonna put my information here as well, so that way, the best way to get in contact with me is either through my social media, Facebook or LinkedIn. Those are the two that I use the most. So feel free to get in touch with me through there. Again, thank you very much for watching this, and I hope this helps in any way, you or any of your clients. And again, feel free to reach out to me or Frank Montro for more information. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on Monday, I believe, or Tuesday. I have another one, and I'm going to put out the information of the people that I'm going to be interviewing next week, just to give you a different perspective for real estate brokers and real estate investors. All right. Thank you very much.